In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to create a highly customizable checkout page for your WooCommerce site that's easy to build, easy to manage, and doesn't create a ton of stress and frustration. In fact, I'm going to show you how to do it without WooCommerce and the typical dozen or so plugins that you need on top of WooCommerce to get it to function and work the way that you want it to. Instead, we're going to use a very simple and affordable plugin. Just one of them. So if you want to create a checkout page for your course, membership site, or some other product where you don't need a full-blown e-commerce solution, you should definitely watch this video. My name is Chris, and I help membership site owners and course creators bring their vision to life. In fact, I was working with a client when I discovered this solution, trying to solve my own frustration. Now, I'm actually pretty good with WordPress. I've been using it for over 10 years. I've used WooCommerce enough to get the results that I need for clients and for my own projects. But it's typically a huge pain in the butt and creates a lot of frustration for me. Plus, it takes up a ton of time. And I just wanted something simple for this project. And WooCommerce was really overkill because I didn't need the full-blown checkout system. So I figured out this other way instead, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. Exactly what I did so that you can do it too, step by step, and hopefully save you the frustration that I went through, and also save you a ton of time so you can just get this done, get it going, and get your project on its way. Now, ultimately, what's going to happen is you'll have a beautiful, high converting, and very simple to create checkout process that you can tie to your sales page. Now, before I get into the step-by-step details, it's important to cover a few advantages and a few limitations that this system has so that you can make the right decision for you on the project that you're working on. So to start with the advantages. The first advantage is that you can design the checkout page, the page where your customers actually put in their credit card details. You can design that to look virtually however you want. You're not limited by WooCommerce. And you can use virtually any page builder or any theme that you want. So your only limitation is the page builder or theme you're using, and those are pretty wide open. Advantage number 2. You can use Stripe or PayPal and a few other payment systems. When you use Stripe, you're able to allow the checkout to happen directly on your page without any redirects to a third-party site. Advantage number 3, there is a direct integration with a whole bunch of different email systems. Plus, there's a Zapier integration to send your customer data virtually anywhere that you would need it to go. Advantage number 4, order bumps are possible and they actually look pretty darn good. Advantage number 5, you can do coupons with this system, so that's pretty cool. Advantage number 6, there is a customer area where your customers can log in and see a purchase history of what they bought. Plus, if you have a subscription type model, they can manage their subscriptions. Now, this is only available for using Stripe, but it is available. Advantage number 7, and this is really probably the best one, the one I like the most, is that it is fast and easy to set up. Literally it is. I'm not just saying that. It's not just hyperbole. It's literally a few minutes to configure all the settings, another few minutes to design the checkout form itself, and then it's ready to place onto the checkout page. And the other cool advantage with this is that you're not going to have to spend days and days Googling and watching YouTube videos trying to figure out how to get WooCommerce to work and solving that stupid little glitch that always seems to pop up. All right, so now for a few limitations. Limitation number 1 is that there is no shopping cart like there is with WooCommerce. So it's not possible to add multiple products to the cart and then go through that typical standard checkout process. Limitation number 2, there is no inventory management like there is with WooCommerce. Limitation number 3, a full-blown funnel process with upsells and downsells isn't possible, but you do have the order bumps like I mentioned. Limitation number 4, the affiliate integrations are pretty sparse. There's only one that I have found, and it only works for Stripe. Limitation number 5, the customer area to show those purchases and manage subscriptions, like I said, is very functional. I'm actually pretty impressed by it. it just doesn't look that great. So if you want it to look a certain way, you can always dress it up with CSS, but straight out of the box, it's kind of less than ideal in my opinion, but it is very functional. So from a limitations perspective, that's pretty much it. There is one more thing to cover before I really get into the details, is that this system is not free. I know a lot of people out there like to compare solutions to WooCommerce, especially since the core of WooCommerce is free. Although when you need WooCommerce to do certain things like subscription management, that sort of thing, you end up paying for additional functionality. Plus, I feel like the speed to implementation that what I'm going to show you allows you to do, and far less frustration, is worth paying for. That's my opinion, and just something to think about as you consider what system you're going to use for your project. All right, now that you have a better understanding of what's possible and the few limitations of this setup, let's get into building this out so that you can have it set up on your site in just a few short steps. All right, step number one is purchase and install the plugin. And what you want to do is go to pixelsandtech.com/fluentforms, like what you see right here. And that'll put you onto the Fluent Forms website. That's the form builder that we're going to use. If you click over to pricing, you'll see that it is very affordable, especially for one domain, only $59 per year. And you get a ton of functionality, including the ability to create the checkout page, like what I'm going to be teaching you how to do. Now, a quick note on buying through my link is that it will give me a small reward. It's not much, but it's enough to help me create these free videos. It's roughly enough to buy myself a burrito for lunch, and I do love burritos, so I would love it if you would use my link. If not, if you already have it, that's cool, or you don't want to use my link for whatever reason, go ahead and get Fluent Forms anyway. It's that great. You're going to love it. All right, so what you'll need to do is go ahead and purchase it and then download it and install it into WordPress. I've already done that, so I'm going to get the install package and the license key and go to the next step. So now here I am on a fresh install of WordPress. All I have installed so far for plugins is my preferred builder of choice, which is the Oxygen Builder. By the way, if you don't have a builder that you really love or a theme that you really love, I would highly recommend checking out oxygenbuilder.com. And that is not an affiliate link. I just really enjoy this builder. All right, so to add in the Fluent Forms plugin, I'm going to click Add New. I'm going to upload plugin, choose file, and choose it from my desktop right here. There it is, open and install now. Now, once that's uploaded and installed, I still need to activate. I'll click Activate Plugin. And then you'll see a warning message here at the top that Fluent Form Pro add-on requires the Fluent Form base plugin. You can simply click the link that it gives to install that. Now, once that's installed, you need to activate the base plugin. So I'll go ahead and click the button to activate the base plugin. And now we have the Fluent Forms base plugin and the Pro add-on pack. Once those two plugins are installed, you're going to get a message right up here at the top that prompts you to activate your license. So I'll go ahead and click that. It'll take me into the Fluent Forms Pro area for my license. I already copied my license from when I purchased it at Fluent Forms website. I'm going to go ahead and paste it in here and click Activate. And then once it's activated, the Fluent Form plugin is now ready to build. There's one other thing that I'm going to do real quick. I like to add in the classic builder or the classic editor here. I'm probably a little bit old school, but that's all I need. I need my Oxygen Builder or a theme of some sort, Fluent Forms, and that's it. And then classic editor if that's your cup of tea. All right. Now we're ready for the next step. So the next step that we're going to do is configure all of the payment settings. So I like to do this before creating forms just so that I have it done and out of the way. It doesn't slow me down or stop me when creating the form. So what you'll need to do is click over to under Fluent Forms Pro, under the global settings. That's where we're going to be working. Now, it'll put you into the settings. You don't really need to do anything here for the general settings. What we need to work on are the payment settings. And you'll get this message that you need to enable Fluent Forms payment module. Go ahead and click that button. And that's it. Now it's enabled. Now there's a few settings here on the general tab. Business name, business address, and logo. These actually really don't even show up anywhere where we're going to be using them. But just for the sake of doing this demo, I will do my name, and I'm not going to worry about the logo or the address at this point. Click Save Settings. Next thing to look at is currency. I am in the United States, and I like the $sign on the left-hand side and using a comma for the thousands and a dot for the decimals. So I'm going to leave all that. I do like this option to hide decimal points for round numbers, which is really nice. So I'm going to click Save. And then I'm going to go to Pages and Subscription Management just to show you what this is. For now, I'm going to leave it blank. We're going to come back at a later step and set these. And this is one setting to take note of to allow users to manage their own subscription. If you deselect this checkbox, then they will not be able to manage their own subscription, obviously. And like I mentioned earlier, this is only available for the Stripe integration, not for any of the other ones. So that's it in the general settings. Now we're going to click over to the payment methods, and I'm going to enable Stripe. I'm not going to worry about any of these other ones at this point in time. I typically only use Stripe anyway. That's just a personal choice that I make. And what this is going to do is going to authorize through Stripe. So I'm going to go ahead and click into that and be back in a moment. All right, now I have my Stripe account connected to my Fluent form here. You can see that it's currently in test mode, which is really nice. It'll allow you to test the full functionality of the form without having a live payment go through. So we're going to leave that in test mode for now. We're going to come back later at the very end, and we're going to switch that over to live mode. One other thing to note down here for Stripe webhooks, in order for the subscription part of Fluent Forms to work properly, you do have to take an additional step here. They do have some good documentation in this link to walk you through on how to set it up. It's actually really easy. I am not going to cover this at this point though. I'm going to focus just on the one-time payment kind of a solution right now. All right, so now that that's set up, we are ready to actually create the form. There is one other setting in here to take a look at. So there's payment methods, general, and then coupons. I'm going to go ahead and enable that now. It's pretty simple. You just click that button and then it gives you this little interface now to add coupons and give you all sorts of information on adding coupons. But at this point in time, I'm not going to mess with a coupon. But just so you know, it's there, super powerful, very easy to use. All right, now we're ready for the next step. Now for the next step, which was creating the actual form that we're going to use in the checkout process. Once we have the form created, then we'll be able to put it onto the page that will become the checkout page. So to create the form, what we're going to do is come over here to, you can either go to all forms or directly to new form. Here, I've already created a couple of demos. I'm going to go ahead and click the add a new form button here. It gives you a bunch of options that you can choose from that are pre-made forms. They have 4 down here that are product forms. I like to start with a blank one. I end up deleting most of everything off of it anyway and then start adding in what I want. So we'll just go ahead and click the create form on blank. It'll reload and it's completely blank to start with. Up here is the name. I like to title these so I know what it is. So I'm just going to do checkout demo number 2. What I typically do when I name it is the name of the product that I'm using it for, just if that helps you out. So I'll click rename there. Now, all it has obviously at this point is a button. If you click name, it'll just, any of these fields that you click on, it'll just add it underneath whatever's already there. So I got the name, we'll do email. And like I said, I'm just gonna do that. First name, last name, I like that. I'm gonna keep that first name, last name. One thing that I like to do personally is I like to hide the labels. So it just has the placeholder info within the field. I'm gonna do the same thing for email. I'm going to hide label. For me, it just makes it a little bit cleaner looking, a little bit more minimalistic. We do need to set both of these to required. I do believe that name already is, but I'll double check. And you have to actually click into these to see if it's required or not, and it's not. So yes, I want it required for first name and last name. So we'll set both of those as required. All right, so that's all I need for personal details. Now I'm going to add in the payment fields. So I'm gonna scroll back up and click on input fields. Down here are the payment options. So here you have a few different options to choose from. The first one that you need to add that's mandatory is payment field or subscription field. I'm going to go, payment field is a one-time payment, and then obviously subscription is multiple payments. So I'm gonna do payment field next, and I'm gonna drop it right there. So what this payment field does is it allows you to set the price. So I'm going to change it to say $79. You can change the label to anything that you want. For my purpose, I'm going to change it to do now, and it is required. And then product display type, you actually can select from a few different options here. Single item is what I'm going to leave it at. You can technically have multiple options to choose from, like multiple products to choose from essentially, which is radio, checkbox. So radio would be selecting one of many options. Checkbox would be selecting multiple from many options, so they could select one, two, or more options. And then select field is like a radio, but it just looks different. It's basically like a large field for them to click on to choose that option. Again, I'm doing a single product, payment amount. I'm going to set that back to $75. I think that's what I did. I don't remember now. And that's it for payment item. Actually, there's one more thing. The element label up here currently says payment item. This can be the name of your product, and that is one way to do it. What I like to do, and the way that I'm going to show you, is I'm actually going to hide the label altogether. So all you see is the price, and then I'm going to use my builder to describe above this form what the product is with a little bit more detail than just the name. So effectively, all this field does at this point that we've added is set the price and let them know how much it is that this item costs. All right, so now the next field that we need to add is this one right here, payment method field. And I'm gonna drag and drop it right below the previous one. Now this one is going to by default only show Stripe because that's all that I've integrated at this point. If you had integrated another payment method such as PayPal, you would see that over here as another additional option. But of course I don't have that, so it's not showing up. One of the things that I do like to do here is I like to change the label here. Instead of pay with card, Stripe, a lot of consumers don't know what Stripe is. That, in my opinion, is a little confusing, so I just like to say credit or debit card. So this is the label that is going to show up. It's going to actually look a little bit differently than what's rendering right now on the screen. Once it renders on the front end, it looks different, and this will make more sense. So just follow along, see what it looks like, and then you can change it if you feel like you want to have it look differently. Leave this embedded checkout selected. If you do not select that checkbox, it will redirect the customer from your site to Stripe's site to finish the checkout. I don't like that functionality. I think that behavior is confusing, so I like to embed the checkout directly on my site, and the whole thing takes place on my site without any redirection. Verify zip postal code, I select that also. With that, I don't collect a address. For my purposes, I don't need to ship anything, or I don't need to know their address, but using this select box is going to help verify on the fraud level on Stripe side. All right, and for now, I'm going to leave this as default. I'm not going to hide label. I don't honestly remember at this point whether I typically do or not, so we're gonna just go through the design process, see how it looks, and then I can come back and hide that if I need to. So for the label, I'm actually going to change this from payment method, make it a little bit more conversational, and say, how would you like to pay? That way, it's indicative that it's a payment method. They're going to see credit or debit card right beneath it, and they will have the credit card field directly beneath that. And I just realized I misspelled that, so debit card. All right, so that's all set, and honestly at this point, that's all you need for checkout. The last thing I'm going to do just from a stylistic perspective is change this from submit form to something like complete order or join now or something like that. I personally like join now, but you can make it however you want. One other thing that you can do is button style. By default, it's going to be this blue with white, which is not bad at all in my opinion. You can customize it, so you can change the background color, text, and border color. One thing I do like to do is change the min width to 100%, and this will make more sense when we get into building the page out. But essentially it's going to take up the whole width of the container that I'm going to drop the shortcode into. And to me, it just looks nicer instead of having this tiny little button on off to one side. You can make it larger, smaller. If you get into CSS, if you know CSS, you can assign a class for the container. You can also assign a class for the element itself, and then completely stylize this this form exactly how you like it. But one of the things that I do like about Fluent Forms is it looks pretty minimalistic right out of the box. And for me, the only thing I do change is the button, and that's it. I leave everything else the same. All right, so that takes care of that step, and we're ready for the next one. Now that we have the form created, we're ready for the next step, which is configuring the settings and the integrations for this form in particular. So here I am on the editor. I'm going to go ahead and click on save. I don't think I've done that yet. So save the form and then click over to settings and integrations. This first tab is where we get to set a few of the first settings on this form. Now, the thank you page, I'm just going to leave this for same page as of right now. Later on, I'm going to come set this to a page, which as you can see, I have no pages yet, so I have nothing to set it to. And then there's a few other settings down here where you can scheduling and where the labels and stuff align and stuff like that, which I'm not going to mess with at this point. Everything's fine for me, for my purposes. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to need to switch over to the payment settings tab. And this is where we get to configure a few of the important settings of how information is passed to Stripe. So this first field that we need to set is their customer email field. And this is pulling from the form that we just designed. So we have an email field on that form, and it knows that, so it allows us to select that field. And then the customer name, this is also going to be pulled from the form that we just made. So we're collecting first name and last name, so I'm going to click first name first, space, and then last name. And what's really cool about this is it's going to pass this data over to Stripe. So in Stripe, you're going to have their email, first name, and last name, which makes it super convenient if you ever have to go and do a refund or adjust a subscription, that sort of thing. Now there are additional settings down here that you can push additional metadata if you needed to. I have never needed to do that. It's there though, if that's something that you need. Stripe payment receipt, disable. You can disable the Stripe payment receipt from here. Although to be honest, I have never gotten this to work properly. So I actually disable it in Stripe directly so that it does not send the receipt from Stripe, and instead I send the receipt out of Fluent Forms, which will be the next setting that we'll get into. So I'm going to leave that deselected. Statement descriptor, again, I have never gotten this to work properly because it seems to be overwritten by Stripe and what's set at Stripe. So just make sure that your descriptor at Stripe is set properly. And now we're ready to configure email settings. Click Save first, and then go over to email. So by default, this is going to be disabled, and this is for admin. I do not typically want the admin notification, but if you do, it's there, and you can just configure this how you want. It's going to give all data, so whatever's entered in the form, you will see this as entered into this email. The thing that I do want though is I will go back to add in another notification. The email that I'm going to send to is instead of enter email, which you could freeform type any email address there, I'm going to select a field and select email from the form. That way, whatever the customer enters as their email address, that's going to be sent. That's going to be used to send this notification to. Now, what I'm going to do here is subject is going to be order receipt for course name, something that they know what it is that they're getting. And then here in the email body, you can add any sort of text here, like, thank you for joining my course. Here's a receipt for your records. Something like that. Maybe make it sound a little bit better than that. But you get the gist. And add short codes. So what I'm going to do is down here under payment details, payment receipt is what I want. And so this short code is going to render what they bought. So the name, the price, and if it's a subscription, it'll show like subscription details, that sort of thing. And really that's it. In my opinion, that's all they need for a receipt, is to know what they bought and how much it cost and who they bought it from, which all of that will be rendered within this short code. So that's all we need for the email notifications. Now, the next thing is linking this up to our CRM system. So this is the page where we would do that. And I'm going to show you how I link it. Again, I use ActiveCampaign, so I'm going to show you how to link it with ActiveCampaign. The other ones, any of the other ones are going to be very similar, where you're going to have like an API URL and an API key. That's all most of them need to integrate. And then you can pass data from Fluent Forms over to your email system, your CRM. So what I'm going to do here is click Configure Modules. It's going to bump me out to this Integration Modules section here. And you can see they have, like I said, they have a ton of them here. The one that I'm going to choose though is ActiveCampaign. I'm going to click that to activate it. And then this cog is going to appear. I'm going to click on that little gear icon. And then all I need is my API URL and my API key, which I'm going to go and grab that, and I'll be back in a minute. All right, now I have my API URL and API key put in here. I'm going to click Save. It's going to do its thing. Now I have an active connection, and now I can go back to my form that I was just working on. Check out demo number 2, settings here, and then I'm going to go back down to marketing and CRM integrations, and now I can actually select from that integration ActiveCampaign. So you can name it anything that you want. I just leave it alone. I have one list called Master Contact List in my ActiveCampaign account. Email address is the only required field, as you can see. So this is the ActiveCampaign field of email address, and I'm going to match it up with the email that's going to be entered in the checkout process. First name, last name, you can sync up first name here and last name here. And then if you have any other custom fields, they're going to show up down here. The really cool thing too about this integration is you can tag them with any of the tags that you would need to kick off automations in your CRM. With ActiveCampaign, I like to start my tags with a name of trigger, and I use that to trigger any automations in my account. So, and I'll just call it trigger course name, which does not exist, so nothing will happen. But if it did exist, it would apply that tag and then trigger the automation in ActiveCampaign. And that's all I do. I don't mess with any of the other stuff. I'll go ahead and create ActiveCampaign feed. Now that is active, as we can see, and fully ready to go. Now there's one other thing, one other setting that you might need to do if you're wanting to create an account on your site for them to be able to manage their subscription and see their payment history. And in fact, an account is required for them to see that information, their history and their subscription. Then you have to do one other thing. You have to go back to integration modules and enable the user registration. Now, if I go back here to all forms, go back into the settings for checkout demo number 2, and then go back to the CRM integrations, it's going to have user registration integration. And again, I would select email, first name, last name I can set. And you can set the default user role, which I always leave as subscriber. If you have any custom user roles, that would show up here also. And you can actually do some really cool things like auto login after purchase. So once they purchase, you could auto log them in, allow them to access their course or membership right away if that's what you're offering. And that's all I'm going to do here. Going through that full entire setup process of creating the whole membership site, that's definitely outside of this tutorial. But this setting here makes all of that possible, just so you know. All right, so that's it for this step. We've created the form, set the integration, and now we are ready for the next step. In this step, I'm going to create the pages that we're going to need for the checkout process, get that linked up with the form that we just created, and then go back into those pages and design them and make them look like the way that I want them to look. So first steps first is I'm going to create a few pages. Come in here, click Add New. And the first one I'm going to do is subscription management. Subscription management, there we go. I'm going to click publish. And one thing I just noticed is my slugs are not the way I want them. So I'm going to go into permalinks and click on post name is what I like. Click save. And then come back over here and update. And there we go. All right, so subscription management, I'm going to click add new again. I'm going to say thank you and publish. And then add new once more. Checkout page. So this is going to be the page that we're going to embed the shortcode on for the form. And publish. And then the last one is sales page. And we'll click publish. So now that I have these pages created, I'm going to go back into a few of the settings areas and connect the form to these pages so I don't forget to do it later. The first one is in the global settings. I'm going to go to payment and then to pages and subscription, and the payment management is what I need, subscription management. That'll tell Fluent Forms where to find that page, and this will make more sense later once we set up that page fully. So that is saved, and then I'm going to go back into the form that I created and go to settings, and then here I am going to set the confirmation type. Currently it's on same page. I don't want that. I want it to redirect to a new page, which is my thank you page right here. So once the payment is complete, they will redirect to my thank you page. Now I'm going to go back and actually create my pages. So I'm going to start with the thank you page and then just go from there. So for me, again, I'm using Oxygen. So I'm going to edit with Oxygen and go through and fully lay out and design the thank you page, and then I'll do the subsequent pages after that. All right, there we have a very, very simple thank you page. I'd definitely spend a lot more time making this look nice if this were real, but that's my thank you page. Welcome to the course, got my little logo, and that's pretty much it. So now I'm going to be designing the customer area page. And all I really need for this page is a headline of some sort to describe what the page is and the short code for the payment history and subscription management to show up. So that's what I'm going to do here real quick. I'll add in a section, add in a heading, and then I'm going to go back into the admin area of WordPress, back into global settings, payment settings, subscription management, and this is the short code that I need. So we'll copy that. We'll go back in here. We'll add in a short code. Paste in the short code, and nothing will render because I do not have an account as an admin user that has made any purchases, so nothing's going to render here. But I will be able to show you at a later step what this looks like exactly. So right now I'm going to just change this to your account, something very generic at this point, just to get it done so you can see. All right, so that is the customer account page. Now I'm going to go and design the actual checkout page. I did a little bit of work on the checkout page, got it to the point where it's looking better than a blank page for sure, but I definitely spend more time on it if it were a legit checkout page. But for the purposes of this demo, I just wanted to show you what's possible. So here I'm going to go back into the checkout page and click Edit with Oxygen. I actually also, while that's loading there, what I need to do is go back to the Fluent Forms, All Forms, and I need to get the short code. So if I just click here, it's going to copy that to my clipboard. And then if I click over to the tab for the Oxygen Builder, this is what I have so far. So again, it's super simple. I definitely spend more time making this look better, telling the story of this product in a better way. But essentially what I have here is I have a section at the top with a logo. I have a 2-column layout here. Left side, we have the name of the product, a little bit of explanation on what it is, what to expect, and a 30-day guarantee. On the right side, what I have is another section here. It's a div tag with a little bit of a drop shadow. If you can see that there, a little bit of a drop shadow along it just to give it a little bit of a difference from the background separation. And then I have purchase summary, the logo, the name again, and the total due per month. So again, in a typical checkout system, all of that stuff right there is basically baked into how it happens. For example, with WooCommerce, it is just how it is, or you have to use a lot of customization to make it look different. Now with this is fully controlled by my builder, my page builder. So if I wanted to change this font size to really large, if I wanted to change the color, I can do all that just as simple as I would with anything else on my page with a page builder. Now, obviously, I am missing the actual form to check out, to collect money, to get the person's name and email address. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop in a short code in this section here, which is I left that blank for the checkout form. So I'm going to go over to this section of my form and click add and search for short code, which is right there. I have that pasted to my clipboard still, so I'm going to paste that in right there. And this is going to give me an error because of Stripe misconfiguration for the builder itself. It'll work fine on the front end, so I'm just going to close that out. And again, this is from what we built earlier. So we got the name, email, the amount due, and then the credit card and join now. So I'm going to click save, and then I'm going to go to the front end, and this is all now rendering properly. It is in test mode, so that's why that Stripe test mode activated message is there. One thing that I can change, the do now, is showing up. I like to have it up here. You can have it there. You can just delete this if you want and leave that there. If you do want to have this up here, the way that you would do that is I will go back to here to edit, and there is a way to hide this but still make it functional because you need this field. If you delete this field, it will not charge anything because that's what sets the value for charging. So down here in advanced options, there is container class, and I can do FF hidden. And I just know this from before. If you use that container class on any of the elements, it hides it from the view of the user. Now, if I go back over here to my page and refresh that, it is now hidden. Again, it's really just a stylistic preference. I like to have it up here rather than down there, but either way is fine. There is supposed to be a little bit of a divider here that I need to select. There we go. And then I'm going to set the color to like a kind of a light gray there. Now if I go back to this page and refresh it, there's my little divider. All right, so there we have it. I've completely designed and configured my checkout page. Last step is to link my sales page to my checkout page. So I'm going to do that next. So one last little thing that I need to change that I just noticed is this says per month. So a little OCD here maybe is kicking in, but I just want to change that to $75. So there we have it. All right, now we're ready for the next step. Here I am on the sales page now, and my funnel is going to be pretty simple. It's just sales page, checkout page, thank you page, and that's it. So all I need to do now is link my sales page to my checkout page. So here's my checkout page that I created just a moment ago. I'm going to grab the URL, copy that, come back here and edit with Oxygen to paste in the link on the Buy Now button to the sales page. So here on the sales page, my Join Now button's right here. I'm going to update this URL to point to my checkout page now. And I'm going to click Save. And I'm going to view the front end. And here we go, my nice new sales page. Click Join Now, and that's going to put me right onto my checkout page. And now my checkout page is ready, it's configured, and I can test it. I'm going to test that here in a moment. I'm going to show you a couple of alternatives that you can do with this to do the order bump, and the subscription checkout option. I'm going to show you two different variations that you can make on the order form. The first one is to take multiple payments, meaning that you can have like a payment plan or a subscription. It's handled essentially the same way. And the second option is to do the order bump that I was talking about earlier in this video. Okay, so the first one is the multiple payments or subscription plan. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just duplicate this form, make it easier for myself. I'm going to change the name to reflect that it is multi-pay. We'll just call it that, even though it could be a subscription. So over here, the payment field here actually needs to be changed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this, and you hover and click the trash and confirm. Now back here in payment fields, I'm going to add in the subscription right above the credit card field. So this one, when you click on it, actually gives you quite a lot of options here. So down here under payment plan, what I'm going to do is change this name, and I'm going to change it to payment plan, and I'm going to set this up first as a payment plan to have, say, 2 payments. So what I'm going to do is total billing times. If you keep it on 0, that's where it becomes a subscription. It'll just keep on billing unlimited. So I'm going to do 2. So they're going to be billed twice at, we're just going to leave it at $9.99. So they'll pay a total of just under $20. I'm going to check this as yes, required. And that's it. Again, if I want to leave this label there, then I would need to change it to something that's more descriptive of what this is for. I, again, like to hide it. And then I also like to completely hide this from showing up altogether, which is under container class FF hidden, like so. Now if I click save, and then I go back to my checkout page, I first need this form ID, which is form ID number 4. Come back over here, click on edit with and then click edit with oxygen. All right, so now I can come to this form here and change the ID from 3 to 4 for my new form. And again, that form field for the number of installments is completely hidden. So that's where I would have to change this up here to say something like to payment option of, what was it, $9.99. I'd need to think a little bit more on how to word that exactly right so it's very clear. Otherwise, if I wanted to just unhide this, it would be very clear. If I just unhid this, it may not look quite as nice, but it gets the job done and there will be no confusion. So what I'm going to do is refresh this page on the front end now. $2.99 for each month for 2 installments. So that should be pretty darn clear. I can leave this up there also, or I could completely delete that. All right, so that's for 2 installments, basically a multi-pay type of payment option. If I wanted to do the ongoing subscription, I would just leave, in this example, I could just leave this form ID as number 4, and then I would just come over here, and instead of having 2, I would just delete that and put 0, and that's going to be unlimited. And then this I can do as, again, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to hide this. I do like this option better, so FF hidden, and then save that form. And then back over here, this is where I change this to monthly payment option, and I do something like $9.99 per month, just so it's very clear up here. And again, I can style it, type in whatever I want up here because I'm using the builder, not the form. If I click save and then let that save, come back over here and refresh this page, $9.99 for each month, total payment or monthly payment option $99 per month. All right, so there's your first variation, is the payments or subscription. All right, for the second variation, we're going to add an order bump. So to do this, I'm actually going to add a new form, and I'm going to select from one of the pre-made ones because they have an order bump example right here. That's pretty good, well done. So again, we have first name, email up here at the top. I'm not going to really edit this form much, just so you can see what happens when I add it to the checkout page. Now, first name, email, product. So this is the payment field that we added to our other one. Payment method, again, Stripe is used. And down here, this is where the order bump information is. Now they have up here a little higher level, they have a 1-column container with a container class, a CSS class. So this is going to add a bit of styling around this section. And then they have another payment field down here. And the key here is to do it as a checkbox selection. That way the person going through the checkout can select this item if they want it. Otherwise, if you use single item or radio selection, it's going to be added by default and they can't deselect it or choose to select it on their own. And then down here, this is what they call a custom HTML field, simply to allow putting in some text to describe what the order bump is and why they would want it. Now, another cool thing that they've done here with the payment button is they've used this little dynamic field for payment total. So this is actually going to show the total with the order bump and without the order bump, depending on whether it's selected or not. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just save the form. The form ID is number 6 now, so I'm going to come back over here to my editor. And right now we have it on number 4, so I'm going to do 6. And you can see that changed what was rendered. It's still not fully rendered. It's missing some of the design element around this section. So I'm going to save this and then go to the front end and refresh. And there we got it. So name, email, price, and then we got this cool little area for the order bump. And once you select it, it'll change the price dynamically, $49 to $78. Pretty sweet. So if you know CSS, you can fully customize how this looks. Otherwise, it's kind of just baked in to how the standard class is on this particular form. So there you go. There's the second variation on how to add an order bump. Now that we have the form created, it's on the checkout page. The checkout page is linked to from our sales page. We have our thank you page done also. We are ready to test. So that's what this step is all about, is about testing and then going live. So now if you remember back early on in the video, when we were setting up the payment options, I left it in test mode just to double check. It's still there. We're going to go into the global settings, go to payment settings, go to payment methods, and then it is on test mode, so we're good. Plus you can just double check here. It's gonna say Stripe test mode activated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some test details here. Test.com, and then the card number is just 42 all the way down. So there we go. So now I'm ready to click join now and see what happens. So if we did everything right, it should redirect to my thank you page. And then I also should get a email as the customer with the payment details. Obviously, it's a test email address. I'm not going to get anything, but that's what would happen. All right, so there we go. It redirected to my thank you page, and that's it. We can actually, at this point, we're ready and safe to put it into live mode. And really all you have to do is go back to the global settings, click live mode, and you will have to reconnect to live instead of test mode with your Stripe account. Once you do that, once you go through the reconnection process, and then you click save Stripe settings, and you're set and ready to go. One last thing that I wanted to show you is the customer center, where they can go in and see their payment history and manage their subscription. Now, this is actually a different website that I've set up where I have a full membership plugin and all of those needed necessary items to be able to do this. But I just wanted to show what it looks like so you have an idea what you're getting into if you want to set this up. So this is where you're going to see the subscriptions area. So they can view payments and then they can cancel the subscription. And then they could also view the basically the payment details of the transaction history. Again, it's not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but it's functional and it does the job. So anyway, there's that. I just wanted you to see that to give you an insight into what it looks like. So there you have it, a simple yet fully capable checkout system that you can make to look however you want. All you need is WordPress, a theme or a page builder, and Fluent Forms with a little bit of time to set it up. You don't need WooCommerce, and I think it's much, much easier to set up than WooCommerce is. Plus, you get a heck of a lot of functionality still. You get a very capable checkout system. You can create the page to look any way you want, really. You get subscription management, you get single pay options, multi-pay options, you can email the receipt to your customer, you can do coupons, you can do order bumps, you can use multiple payment systems including Stripe or PayPal, and you can literally integrate with pretty much any email system out there, including Zapier, which opens the door to pretty much everything else on the internet. Now, I know how frustrating it can be to bring your vision to life when stuff like this gets in your way. So if you have any questions, need any additional clarification, you can post below this video in the comments, or you can go to pixelsandtech.com/help. I would love to help you bring your vision to life. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below to get more goodness like this to help you in your journey as a course creator or membership site owner.